It is with a trembling heart and a deep sense of apprehension that I begin to share this chapter of my life, a moment so veiled in secrecy, so layered with emotional intricacies that speaking of it even now fills me with equal parts dread and yearning. What I am about to recount is not merely a memory. It is a turning point, a night that fundamentally altered the trajectory of my existence, at first glance. That day seemed to hold nothing more than an attempt to escape the loneliness that often shadows one's birthday. I had braced myself for quiet solitude on the eve of my 64th year. Yet buried beneath Adrian's casual offer to spend time with me lay a deeper, more mysterious motive, one I could never have anticipated. There had always been something simmering between us, an unspoken current that neither of us dared to fully acknowledge. The glances that lingered a second too long, the pauses heavy with unsaid emotions, the subtle tension we had masked with politeness and distance, all of it was still there, waiting, unresolved. And on that day, it all came to a head. Everything we had buried found its way to the surface, so allow me to tell you the truth. From the very beginning, Adrian, my late husband, Thomas's stepson, was a man who exuded a quiet charisma, a presence that stirred something within me from the moment we first met. At 28, he carried himself with a self-assurance that belied his years. It wasn't just his youth or looks, but the way he observed the world, the way he saw me in the months after Thomas passed away. Adrian became a familiar presence around the house. He visited often, sometimes staying for entire weekends, helping with repairs, offering company during the loneliest hours. And then, almost without warning, 2 years ago, he disappeared from my life. No explanation, no goodbye, just absence. Still, in his silence, the echoes of our shared moments remain vivid in my mind. I truly tried to forget, to tuck him away in a corner of memory where feelings could not stir. But I failed. His memory lingered, stubborn and warm. And then, one unassuming afternoon, I opened the door and there he was, Adrian, standing at my threshold as if no time had passed at all. He told me he needed to dig through some boxes in the garage, looking for old documents. But even then, I sensed there was more to his return. There was a flicker in his eyes, a quiet intensity that told me this visit was no mere coincidence. He stepped inside, papers clutched in his hand, and as he offered a smile so familiar, so disarming, I felt the walls I had carefully constructed begin to tremble. It was then I noticed the gramophone, nestled quietly in the corner of the garage, covered in dust yet unmistakably placed with purpose. It was the very one I had longed for years ago, back when Thomas was still alive, when Adrian had overheard my wistful comments about music from another era. And on it, my favorite record resting delicately as though waiting for me all this time. I realized then the papers were nothing but an excuse. This was something else entirely, something deeper, something about us. A narrative I hadn't dared to write, yet one that Adrian was already living. He left soon after, quietly, almost as if to not overwhelm me, but not for long. That evening, the doorbell rang again. When I opened it, I was met with the sight of Adrian dressed impeccably, his sharp suit tailored to perfection. In his hands, a modest but beautiful cake. And that same smile, but this time it held something more. Oh wait, and knowing, I didn't want you to be alone on your birthday, Helena, he said softly. In that moment, the room seemed to still. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't simply about a birthday. There was a tenderness in his voice, a deliberate intention behind his every word and gesture. Adrian was offering me a night unlike any other, a gift laced with emotion, with memory, with something that defied explanation. He placed the cake gently on the table and stepped closer, his gaze never wavering. Tonight should be beautiful, he murmured. Put on something you love. Let's make this evening one you'll never forget. For a moment, I considered declining, but his eyes, so gentle, so certain, left me no room for resistance. I nodded, my voice caught somewhere in my chest, and quietly ascended the stairs. With every step, a nervous excitement surged through. Standing before my wardrobe, my eyes were drawn to a black dress long untouched. My fingers trailed the fabric slowly, reverently, before I turned to the mirror. I removed my t-shirt and studied myself in the soft glow of the light. My skin, though touched by time, still carried a glow I had come to appreciate in recent years. My waist, my shoulders, the gentle lines of maturity, I stood there, almost stunned by my own reflection. "I'm still beautiful," I whispered. And for the first time in a long while, I believed it. With a quiet smile, I slipped into the dress. It hugged me in all the right places, awakening a forgotten sense of self-worth. I descended the stairs slowly, and that's when I heard it, a melody, distant but unmistakable, wafting from the living room. It was my song. How could he have known? I had never told him, never played it around him, and yet there it was. That hauntingly lovely tune pulling me in, as though it had waited years to dance through the air again. I stepped into the room to find Adrian beside the gramophone, carefully placing the needle down. He turned to me, and the look in his eyes, soft, adoring, reverent, nearly brought me to tears. "How did you know?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I listened," he replied, his voice unwavering. "You always thought I wasn't paying attention, Helena. But I heard everything. Every story, every memory, every little thing you ever said with a sigh. I held on to it all." I felt a wave of emotion swell within me. For so long I had felt unseen, my thoughts dismissed, my presence quietly overlooked. But here was a man, nearly half my age, who had listened, who had remembered. He stepped toward me, offering his hand. "Tonight is about you. Just you. I want you to feel cherished, because you deserve that." As we sat and talked, the room seemed to fade into warmth and music. Our conversation flowed with an ease that only shared longing could birth. Every word carried the weight of emotions long repressed, every glance more telling than the last. And then he asked the question that shifted everything. "Do you know why I disappeared, Helena?" His voice trembled slightly, and his emerald eyes searched mine, seeking permission to continue. "I left," he said after a pause, "because being around you was too much. Too real. I saw something in you, something I couldn't unsee. I saw your strength, your sorrow, your joy. I felt it, and it frightened me." He leaned in, closer now, his hand nearly brushing mine. "I was falling for you. I had fallen for you. But I didn't know what to do with that feeling. You were Thomas's wife. You were forbidden's. And yet, I could never stop thinking about you, your voice, your laugh. The way you carry yourself, it haunted me." His words crashed over me like a storm, filling me with awe, confusion, and undeniable desire. "Adrian, this isn't right," I murmured, my hands clasped tightly in my lap, trying to steady the trembling. "I know," he whispered. "I know it defies every rule. But, Helena, look at me. You feel it too, I see it in your eyes." And I did feel it. That magnetic pull, that desperate ache for connection. The truth hung between us like a delicate thread, waiting to be acknowledged. I was 64. He was 28. And yet, in that moment, age vanished. The years meant nothing. What remained was the honesty in his voice, the heat in his gaze, and the silent, mutual recognition that this, whatever this was, had been building for far too long. He leaned in just a little more. "This connection, Helena, it's real. We've both known it for years. Let's not hide from it anymore." I can no longer argue. The emotions we both stifled had taken root, and they were blooming, wild and unstoppable. And so, the night began not as a celebration of another year passed, but as the beginning of something raw, uncharted, and profoundly real. Everything resonated within me. Once more, thank you for staying by my side that day. I finally managed to say, my voice trembling with feeling yet. "Adrian, this poses a perilous threat. If we proceed any further, neither of us will have the option to retreat." Adrian gently extended his hand, his fingers brushing against Maneha's touch, obliterated the logical barriers I had meticulously constructed. Have no desire to retreat, Helenehi declared. I long to embrace this moment with you to express the depths of my feelings to convey just how extraordinary you are to meteors brimmed in my eyes yet. These emotions did not shatter mine, instead, they liberated something profound within his words, revealed a fervor he had concealed for far too long. As he gazed at her, his voice, a gentle murmur infused with fervor, said, I don't merely perceive beauty, recognize strength, passion, and an exuberance for life thaw. You may see yourself as 64 in my eyes. You have eternally embodied the essence of youth. And Allurian, those sentiments will remain unchanged as words, shattered the remnants of my defiance. Inhaled deeply and turned my gaze toward him, Adrian. I murmured, me voice quivering, as I leaned closer. You perceive me in a manner I haven't experienced. In your sand, I cannot refute that the ensuing silence was profound, yet it conveyed all that needed to be expressed with. Exchanged glances, and in that silent, savory, unvoiced truth came to light. Irresistible attraction that bound us was now unmistakably Nesbalal. As Adrian's lips finally brushed against many a torrent of repressed emotions surged forth, breaking through the surface with undeniable force. A kiss ignited a fervor within me, compelling me to face the emotions I had buried deep for so long, yet the sheer intensity of it filled me with a sense of trepidation. The rational side of me continued to resist, insisting that I ought not to surrender in an instant. I withdrew, inhaling deeply. Adrian, I murmured, my voice quivering with emotion. I found myself at a loss for words, uncertain of the message I wished to convey, entranced by his gaze. I sensed my grip beginning to fathom me, heart raced as I took a step back, yearning to create distance between using silence. I rushed to my bedroom as I closed the door with a soft click. I pivoted to confront the reflection in the mirror. Me cheeks burned with a rosy weaned, my eyes sparkled with a mix of exhilaration and bewilderment. The hands continued to quiver ever so slightly. What is it that I am engaged in? He murmured softly to myself, yet beneath the surface an insistent voice persisted, fooled by an all-consuming yearning. I gazed into the mirror with a discerning eye, examining the delicate lines etched upon my face. Little whispers of time's passage. My gaze wandered down to my body, still firm and youthful. I still possess ID, whispered a subtle ambivalent smile curling at the corners of my mouth, yet in some inexplicable way that understanding only served to entangle matters further. At that moment, the gentle creak of the door reached my ears. I pivoted and caught sight of Adrian's resolute stereos. He entered the room, his gaze remained fixed on me as he shut the door behind him and stepped nearer. Helena, he said, his voice a quiet yet unwavering whisper. I cannot allow you to escape. I gazed at him, yet words eluded me. Adrian bridged the gap that separated us, and once more his lips met beneath this kiss, intensity drawing me deeper into a realm where I held no sway on. By one, my defenses began to crumble in the bowl to restrain myself any further. Me hands instinctively found their way to his shoulders. Adrian encircled my waist with his arms, drawing me in even tighter. His warmth wrapped around me, igniting a quickening of my breath, kissed me gently, and for a moment the world around us disappeared. Me body instinctively reacted to his every caress. The fervor of this illicit longing utterly engulfed me. Took a small step back, not in flight, but to regain my breath with deliberate grace. I reached for the dress I had saved for special moments and changed it quietly. I slipped into the dress, breathing in the moment's intensities. I caught a fleeting glimpse of my reflection in the mirror. A wave of courage surged through me. Adrian, I murmured, me voice a mere whisper. I am yielding to Yauthos' words, ignited a spark in his eyes ablaze that demanded attention. Adrian started to unbutton it, his shirtless fingers dancing swiftly, and with a hint of impatience as he shrugged it off, exposing his powerful athletic physique. Me heart quickened even more while I observed him take a step nearer. Every fiber of my being was drawn to him. Adrian's hands found their way to my waist, once more leading me softly toward the betas. I reclined. He settled beside me, his essence enveloping every corner of my being. We embraced the night with an intensity that felt both comforting and exhilarating. Stirred feelings and desires that had long been hidden within me at this moment marked the dawn of a night beyond my wildest dreams. And I felt an undeniable certainty that everything would change from that point forward. Everything unfolded with such rapidity that my heart threatened to leap from my chest. I gazed at Adrian, confusion mingling with the profound intensity of my longing. Could have never imagined this, I uttered, my breath caught in my throat. This moment above all else, this is what I desire. My heart brims with excitement and longing. Adrian inclined his head ever so slightly, a gentle yet resolute smile blossoming on his lips. Helena, he murmured, his voice steady and profoundly enchanting, anchoring me in my spot. We have always yearned for this, yet each time we found ourselves fleeing from it. This evening is not suitable. This evening we shall remain still, not rushing off to any destination. In that instant, Adrian's words dismantled the final remnants of my defenses. I had relinquished any concern for the destination this night might lead us. Stood poised to immerse myself completely in the experiencing overwhelming force swelled inside, mezzo intense, that I found overwhelmed by the emotions. I closed my eyes, letting the moment carry me. Eyes closed for what felt like 2 or 3 minutes. I endeavored to concentrate easily on the sensations coursing through me. As I slowly opened my eyes and gazed up at the ceiling, I found Adrian leaning over me. His hair fell in untamed disarray, while a subtle sheen of sweat adorned his forehead. Just as the thought crossed my mind that this was perfect, Adrian extended his hand and gently placed it over mine. On the battle, sensations enveloped me in a dreamlike haze, simultaneous, ethereal, and strikingly clear. As I turned my gaze to the mirror and beheld the reflection of using that moment, I found myself unable to restrain my emotions any further. The emotional whirlwind left me breathless and stunned. This was a longing and fervor I had never encountered before, leaving me completely astonished by my own responses. And then there was Adrian, utterly mesmerizing, leaving me in disbelief of his very existence. His cheeks bore a rosy hue as he lavished me with compliments. My voice quivered softly as I murmured, Adrian, you are truly remarkable indeed. I wish for this night to stretch on indefinitely with excitement. In his eyes was palpably intensifying with each passing moment. With my other hand, I extended it and laid it gently over his chest, sensing the quickened rhythm of his heartbeat. I have always desired you, I confess, scarcely able to trust the truth of my own declaration. This is truly unbelievable. I shut my eyes, once more yielding to the enveloping warmth that coursed through my being. In that precise instant, a searing warmth enveloped my entire essence. Adrian, his breath ragged and unsteadyful beside me, with a resolute look etched upon his features, Adrian propped himself up and extended his hand toward his phone, turned to me, his fingers deftly unlocking the screen. Helena, there's something I wish to share with you, said as he angled the phone in my direction. My eyes grew wide with surprise. It was an image of a cottage by the lake, quaint, inviting, and serene spot, precisely the sort of haven I had always envisioned. I dreamed of this, he said, his voice a blend of earnestness and longing. I want to take you here in a distant corner of this house sites, just the two of us, away from the rest of the world. Tomorrow morning we shall visit this place, and upon our arrival I will request that you don an outfit I have selected for you. This evening I encountered the woman of my dreams. You are that woman. Helena, it has always been you. His words unleashed a tempest within me, causing my heart to quicken its pace. I gazed at him, utterly speechless. This was not merely a fleeting tale, was an entrance to a realm of boundless possibilities. As I stood before that door, uncertainty loomed about what lay beyond it. For the first time, fear did not grip me. Was not crossing the threshold alone. If this is merely the start, with much more yet to unfold. If you've journeyed to this point, it's clear that this narrative has resonated with you on a profound level. There is an abundance of insights to convey, and every detail is worth your attention. Sure to tap that follow button, activate notifications, and share your thoughts on this story in the comments. I eagerly await your insights, so let's engage in the comments. Your support is invaluable to me.